Hello, and thanks for joining this demonstration of Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, also known as Amazon VPC. In this demonstration, you're going to learn how to create a virtual private cloud. You're also going to learn the default components when you create your VPC, and you're going to learn how to launch an EC2 instance into your network. To get started, we're going to navigate to the VPC console. To do this, we're going to use the services menu at the top of the page, and in the text box, we're going to enter VPC. At the top of the list, you'll find a link to the VPC console, and we're going to choose that now. Let's choose the Your VPCs link to see the VPCs that already exist in the account. What you will find is that there is already a virtual private cloud in your account, and this is your default VPC. The default VPC is provided to help you quickly get started using Amazon Web Services. However, it has some settings you might not ordinarily use in a real-world environment. So instead of using the default VPC, you're going to create a custom VPC. To do this, choose the Create VPC button. You'll find that there are two options, VPC only and VPC and more. We want to create all of the components in our VPC at the same time, so we're going to choose VPC and more. Next, we're going to choose a prefix to use to name all of the components in our VPC. I'm going to change it from being named project to having demo be the prefix for all of the resources in our VPC. Next, we're going to review the CIDR block, and as you can see, the CIDR block that we have chosen is the default, and it is going to provide us with over 65,000 IP addresses that we can use in this VPC. Under IPv6 CIDR block, we're going to leave the default choice, no IPv6 CIDR block. That means we're not going to use IPv6 CIDR block addressing. We're also going to leave the tenancy set to default. With the default tenancy, you may share underlying hardware with other AWS customers. If you require isolation from other customers, you can choose a dedicated tenancy for an additional cost. This VPC will be deployed into two availability zones. There will be two public subnets and two private subnets, and these will be divided across the two availability zones, as you can see in the diagram on the right side of the page. We're not going to create a NAT gateway in this VPC, and we're going to leave the default setting with an S3 gateway. We're going to enable DNS host names, and we're also going to enable DNS resolution. Let's review the diagram to the right to see what else is being created when we launch our VPC. You'll notice that in addition to the VPC and the 4 subnets, we'll also be creating 3 route tables, an internet gateway, and the S3 VPC endpoint we pointed out a moment ago. To create the VPC, we'll just simply need to choose the Create VPC button. While the VPC is being created, you can see all the resources that are being deployed for you by the wizard. Choose the View VPC button to navigate to the console page for your new VPC. From the VPCs page, you can locate and review information about your VPC. Next, we're going to deploy an EC2 instance into our VPC. First, we're going to navigate to the EC2 console by entering EC2 in the Services menu and selecting EC2 from the list of services. Then we will select Launch Instance and Launch Instance again, and we're going to enter a name for our EC2 instance. I'm going to name my instance Demo. We're going to keep most of the default settings for this instance. However, we are going to choose Proceed without a key pair because we do not need one for this instance. And we're also going to update the network settings to choose the VPC we just created, which is Demo VPC. We're going to ensure that the subnet selected is one of the public subnets that is part of our VPC. And finally, we're going to create our EC2 instance by choosing the Launch Instance button. On the following page, once you notice the green success banner, choose View All Instances. Select the demo instance. And at the bottom of the page, you'll find the VPC details, and you'll notice that you've deployed this EC2 instance into the VPC you created earlier. Excellent work learning how to create your own custom VPC. Knowing how to create a VPC will help you both secure and share your AWS resources. Happy building!